Radio 550 and WGR550.com. This is a Paddock Chevrolet Sports Update.
Very busy day in the NFL as teams are setting the table for the start of the new league year next Wednesday. We'll start with the Philadelphia Eagles as they are giving running back Saquon Barkley a 2-year, $41.2 million extension that now does make him the highest paid running back in NFL history. The first running back to have $20+ million per year. And also this deal does include $36 million guaranteed. This is not the only thing the Eagles did today. They are continuing some of their cuts in the secondary. They've released cornerback James Bradbury. Yesterday, it was Darius Slay. The Cowboys also got involved in some internal moves. They have signed defensive tackle Osa Odigizua to a 4-year, $80 million deal. $58 million of that is guaranteed. And to create more cap space, Dallas also restructured wide receiver CeeDee Lamb to create $20 million. Then to the Jets, they have made a number of changes to their wide receiver room, or at least are attempting to. They have released wide receiver Devontae Adams, that saves them $29.9 million in cap, and then have given wide receiver Allen Lazard permission to seek a trade. And then speaking of trades, the Bears are sending the Rams a 6th-round pick for offensive lineman Jonah Jackson. And then today we do also have the franchise tag deadline. This is in just about an hour at 4 p.m. The Vikings, though, maybe the main character of this today, are not expected to franchise tag quarterback Sam Darnold. To hockey, it's Bills night at the arena. Sabres take on San Jose Sharks. Puck drop at 7. Pregame's going to get underway at 6. And the Sabres, they are looking to avoid dropping a 4th straight game. And then in college hoops, UB men host Miami of Ohio tonight at 7. It's going to be the final home game of the year for the men, and that game can be heard on our sister station, the Bet 1520. That's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Update. Paddock Chevrolet celebrating 90 years of business. I'm Zach Jones for WGR Sports Radio 550.
Lay low, I think I'll get away with it.
Not mention it on the air?
Definitely don't want to talk about it on the air.
It's Mike Schopp and the Bulldog
I like the sound of this more and more as we go. I'm an outlaw.
on WGR Sports Radio 550.
Hi. How'd you like my tweet last night? I'm sure you have lots of questions about it.
The one with the little trophies in it,
Yes.
and it took up like 3 screens in a row of my device as I was looking at it.
Would you have formatted that differently yourself?
No, I
kind of put them into tiers.
I liked how that came together. Yeah. How long did it take you to compile all that?
I don't know, half an hour to an hour during the game. Then they tied it, so I just put it on a shelf for a few minutes. Then they lost, and I'm like, what the hell? Why not?
Really? You didn't put that out until they had lost the game?
Yes.
Man, I thought I saw it during the game.
It wasn't anything more than just like, this is not the time. If this ends up being a cool comeback win,
Right.
This
Right.
this is not the time.
Yep.
But then they lost, and I'm like, this can be the time. They did come back, but this can be the time.
Sure.
No particular reflection on last night's performance. Just it why wouldn't it? It reminded me of the Bills drought, and it got to a point, I mean, well before the end, where the only thing really to say is just to sort of think about how long it's been. There's no need for, in my opinion, there's no call for just like, blasting them. Blasting them's boring and completely played out.
I do not have any bullets left in that.
I know, right?
Weapon.
Like
I don't know.
This is a Baxter situation for me. I'm not even mad. I'm amazed,
Yeah.
Baxter. That's really it. I counted those, and of course I miscounted at least one. That doesn't surprise me
I did
anymore.
see a correction on Seattle has 14 playoff games now.
Seattle won a round and then lost a round the same year, so I missed that. The original tweet has at least one mistake in it. Seattle, and that 14 would have looked better there next to the Sabres than 7 does.
Sure,
and have been accurate. But what? Just that is a way of this is how long it's been. One thing, I'm going team by team.
That's why it taking me having to scroll on my phone to see the whole thing made it enhanced it. Because if the point is it's been a long time, like this is a really long list of teams that have played playoff games since the Sabres have played a single one, and it doesn't just show up on one screen. You gotta move it to see the whole thing.
Yeah,
that takes some doing.
Well, that's
part of the point,
and you know how it's going to end. When you click on that tweet, you pretty much know how it's going to end. But I don't know, like that's just it. It's 1,000 some NHL playoff games. We don't even maybe know what we're missing with the playoffs. I have been into Severance lately, and maybe the show is having a little effect on me because like it does seem like another life going to playoff games and like caring about who wins in the league.
It's so funny. I saw a tweet from our friend Brian Mazarowski, who works down the hall on the mornings on News Radio 930 WBEN, and he said, "Severance, except the chip activates when I enter the arena."
Yeah.
So it's funny that you would mention that in this context. I do still know what we're missing because I invest heavily. I love the playoffs, and I still get excited for whatever. It's Hockey Night in Canada or whoever is carrying the Leafs' first playoff game because they're always in the playoffs, at least for the first round. Anyways, they've got their own streak going, although they broke that and at least got to the second round recently. But
yes,
it
64.
I think what's that?
64. Toronto has played 64 playoff games since the Sabres last.
What I think we have right now was, I think to an extent, the Four Nations face-off, I think, tickled a lot of hockey fans, a lot of Sabres fans here. Like, oh, yeah. I remember caring about this. And, obviously that's a different stage even than the Stanley Cup playoffs. It's country versus country, and that's a ratcheted up, at least with how long it had been since that had happened. And I was here that week. You were away while that was, unfolding. You were here for the first part of it, but then that second week when the championship game was held, and a lot of what I was feeling, I don't know. I don't think I talked as much about it because it's depressing. It's stark when you pour yourself into a hockey game. Like, what time is it starting? Who am I going out? What are we having to eat? Like, all kinds of things that you just don't even consider anymore at all for regular season Sabres games.
Necessarily, yeah.
Mostly. I don't anyway. They aren't events anymore. They're more obligation for me. Like, I like hockey. I'm going to watch a hockey game every night anyway. We have a team in town. I'm watching my team, So it's some part recreational, but also some part, I should do this. And here along comes this tournament, and it's just like you don't have to ask me. Like, I can't wait. Like, when's it starting? What do you mean 8:20? What's wrong with 8:05? 8:07? Let's go. And I think when it ended, there's this sort of okay, we're back to this. We're back to talking like this, and okay. It's just there's no excitement about it, and I don't even really know what they should do about it, other than fire Kevin Adams. And I don't know if that'll immediately make anything better. It could, I suppose, a different vision, a different person choosing who the core players are going to be, and all that kind of stuff. But I just, short of somebody having an incredible goalie year sometime soon, I don't know how this changes. Unless their luck just changes. Because they just seem stuck to me. Really stuck. Roster-wise, they're just a mess. Sorry. I don't know if this is where we were supposed to be going.
Well, you've already said a lot of different things. I'm not sure I agree with all of them. Part of this is not directly to disagree with what you said at the end there, but part of the Sabre, the mystery of it all, is that they've always had, not always, but like since Jack anyway, they rate okay in terms of talent, you know? Mm-hmm. And they should. You've got first overall picks. You've got, I mean, I'm fine with Power. Like, he's not this for me. Dahlin, of course. What Reinhart was, what Eichel was. These are not busts.
I still look at them now and think they've got – I think they have enough good players to be a good team.
Yeah, so
but is that
a mess? Like, that's not such a mess, you know? It's maybe – there are bigger messes. And if you have a bigger mess, like maybe the team they're playing tonight or was before – picking first, Chicago. Like, if you have a bigger mess, then it was like what the Sabres were 10 years ago, which is like, okay, this is kind of exciting because I can start over. The Sabres can't exactly start over. I mean, probably. And I'm not sure they'd want to. Mm-hmm. So that's always, I think with the Bills, the drought made sense. They didn't have great quarterbacks. They didn't have great coaches. And New England had Brady and Belichick. And you're just going to lose. You know, you're going to finish in the middle. Mm-hmm. And that's usually what the Bills did. It wasn't fun.
No, and but they usually weren't where the Sabres have been often, which is last.
Right. And that, again, comes with some juice. Last comes with juice. This doesn't. Last year didn't. 2 years ago, it was close. And it was like progress that they were close. These years, the last 3 or 4, last is better. You know, like what to do at the deadline if you're last in the conference and you've got 20 games left or so, 24 games left. Sell. But that's not as interesting because the years of doing that have come and gone, and you don't really have the assets like you did other times, probably to pay that off as well. And even if you do, it's another round of prospects and development, and just like everybody's bored.
Yeah.
So that's not wrong to me, but
that's the problem. Like, to me, when I say stuck, that's exactly what I mean. It's so interminably boring at this point because they should do all the things you do when you're in last place, which is sell your veterans that have any marketability at all for stuff, and fine, finish last, go win the lottery. We've done that, and that's not saying like another guy won't help, but it is not going to get me to anywhere that is different than I feel right now today. It just isn't. And I don't have to be right about that, but I feel so much like a person who could have called us 10 years ago and said, hey, let me know when they're good again. I don't think that's unfair. It wasn't unfair 10 years ago. It's pro sports. You're paying money to go there. You're investing money to watch them, whatever you're buying the gear. You love the team. You love Gilbert or Hasek or Pekka or LaFontaine, whoever, and you're hooked. And this is not rewarding. And if you want to throw up your hands and walk away and go like, let me know when they're good, like I get it. Because it feels more and more like the thing to do. But what? Like, I don't want, I professionally, that is not functional for me. But yet, I don't know what else to say anymore about them. You're not going to be in here on trade deadline day, and I have no idea what do people want. I just realized today I was leaving you on your own on Friday for the deadline. Sorry. Don't apologize. I would dread it. I don't even, it doesn't even, I don't know. I'm not the least bit stressed out about it at all. Just so you know, like I just think I'm going to sit in here and do what I'm doing right now, and I don't know if it's going to be any good. I'm just telling you. What? What do you want? You want them to trade Zucker for a 3rd round pick? Congratulations. I mean, what? You can't. They don't want to move Dylan Cousins for futures. I understand that. But nobody wants to give you somebody good and young for Dylan Cousins if they're trying to get Dylan Cousins to help them make a playoff push. So you're not making that trade probably. And what? Then we're into the off season, and then what? It's July 1st. Oh, well, let's see what happens now. What? I'm gonna go shopping for what then?
No, well,
and I don't know. I just keep digging here, but I don't know what else to do.
That's stuck in terms of the fans, the public face of it. I mean, that is what that means, as I understand you. What can they do about it? They can't really change that, and maybe trading off a couple guys doesn't change that at all, like you said, and might even sort of bring the critics back out because, like, so what? You have to just settle for that. You have to live with that. The Sabres have to live with that for now. It's just, again, for me, a question of, will we have to live like this forever? Will it ever change? It's Terry. Like, the cap is going up in hockey, which is not always the case. Like football, like that's a story. And that's not going to help us.
No.
Because he's not going to spend to it. And now I feel like I'm back in 2002 or something, maybe, where not only do I not have the right group of players, but I'm going to get outspent. It's already been that way. So that's depressing. And, due respect to Adams, I mean, we're coming up on 5 years and they're nowhere. Like, what are we doing? If you're a GM, I think the rule should be 3. You get 3 years to put something together to get it to the middle, and they're not at the middle.
Right.
So that's just like, of course, I'd expect there to be a change, but I don't know. You come to expect the Sabres to not do things, and you end up being right, but not when the season ends always, and coaches come and go and GMs come and go. I'm not expecting Ruff to be here next year. I really never have been this year because it feels like the past, and they're not good. And he said when he took the job, he wasn't sure he wanted to do it. And there's this Seth Apper who I guess is important to have. It's what do you do Friday? It's how do they, what happens in the next game tonight? But it's also like this faith, and confidence. And
it's so hard to have any of that.
And the fact that Pegula, the first day, said that thing about Stanley Cups. I'll always remember for how he said Stanley Cup in a way no one else I've ever heard say it. Right. Everybody my whole life said Stanley Cup. The new guy says Stanley Cups. And that's the meaning, that's the reason for existence. Mm-hmm. And it's just like so sad and funny to think about now. Every GM was never a GM before and was never one again. He did. I thought it was real. They did flirt with Mike Babcock, And
Bilesma was a good fallback, I think, even to that at the time.
I agree with that.
He's back in the league now, but he's been out. He was out since he got fired here as a head coach anyway. So, like, he doesn't seem like a star anymore. But I think he was a star when they hired him.
It was definitely a lot for them. They didn't get the top guy,
right?
But they got somebody who'd won a cup. And I don't know, Bowman, Muckler, like they have a couple examples of that, and Bilesman was that. But even that is so long ago now. Yes. And Lindy's different because he's been in the league so long, and we sort of love him, and but he was hired because he had been the coach of the Sabres, and there was that attachment, and I just will not believe different. I think he had enough credibility for the to be the choice, but he would not have been the Hurricanes' choice if they were in the same situation, right?
Right.
So he's different in that way, and really just like mostly coaches, GMs, they just stop short. Whether it's Housley in his turn and Kruger and Granato, no one else is courting these people. but the Sabres give them the job, and then they come and they go. And is that going to be different? Like, it doesn't. It's not like I always said it too. You can't. You don't have to lose because you're hiring a first-time coach. It doesn't mean you can't win. It happens, but this organization so desperately should realize, and this has been true for years, the lack of credibility in the space that they have. And that's how you change that. If the roster can't be fixed overnight because of different reasons, that's reality. You know, that happens. You can't always, you're not starting over.
You're not the only team that has that problem.
No.
Not, it's not half the league, but you're not alone. There are other teams that players aren't eager to go to, and there are other teams that have bad reputations, and other teams that have bad contracts or underperforming players with big whatever. But the credibility part, that piece, I can't know, sitting here talking with you and to everyone out there, how much that impacts the overall. I don't know if guys around, like other players on other teams, talk to the Sabres players plainly about it. If the guys, like Casey Middlestat goes to Colorado, and does he text these guys, you will not believe it. It's incredible out here. You can breathe. I mean, I don't know how that goes, but they're standing, and Adams is fueling it earlier this season with just publicly admitting what he admitted. It could not have helped. I don't know how much it hurt, if at all, but their reputation was already, he was admitting publicly what everyone in the league has known. Guys don't want to choose to come there. If you attract a free agent, you're overpaying him, or it's a guy that's, just barely in the league, kind of like fourth line guys, like they made a whole new fourth line, because guess what? You can't make a whole new top line because you can't attract those players. So, we'll make the bottom. Maybe that'll work. And you're just in this spot where I think they need someone who has credibility to help them restore their credibility. And I don't know, that's like a chicken and the egg thing. I don't know who takes that job. Maybe Pat LaFontaine was some piece of that way back when.
Who also had never been in a personnel job in the league.
So I don't know how that's why I feel like, we want to fire Adams. The case is made. It's pretty airtight. What am I doing then? Am I upgrading one of the analytics guys from in-house? What am I doing?
You do this, and it, just like with players, I suppose, probably, you do this the only way you can do this. You do this with money. You buy it. You pay the person enough to convince them to do it, like a real sports team. That's how you do it. And if there's a Sabres tax because of the last 14 years, tough.
You pay that too, right?
You have to pay the tax. But if you don't do that, and they promote from one of their assistants, I mean, it just adds to the on the outside. Again, they'll be 0-0 again in a couple of months, and we can run it back with new management. But it will not look at all like, even Lindy didn't. We talked to people, and there was a warm and fuzzy with Lindy Ruff, but plenty of people thought like, okay. I mean, it's nostalgia. And I don't know. I just didn't want to settle for that because he's won so many games.
Right.
And
I wanted to respect because of how I think the community and I personally, and I think you feel about him, I wanted to look past that. But as it goes on, it feels more and more like they sure, it was credible from a hockey viewpoint.
Credible enough.
Right.
I would
say.
But
it was Marv coming back to the Bills. And I never wanted that. I didn't want that for Marv Levy then. And I did not want this for Lindy Ruff.
I know.
The day that was announced, I said, I just hope the stink doesn't get on him. And, I don't know, he'll just, go on his way here, and we'll remember him as, an all-time franchise cornerstone player, coach twice. But It's not. I mean, it hasn't. It didn't change. He pretty pointedly, we got to win this game, and we got to be disciplined, and we can't stay out of the. They took 5 minor penalties last night in the first period in a game that the coach said we got to win, and we got to stay out of the box. 5 minor penalties. What are you doing?
Yeah, what is that?
What is that? Good job the final 40 minutes pulling your you-know-what together, but Jesus, 5 minor penalties. The period's only 20 minutes long. At least for one of those, you took somebody with you, I think, but the other 4, oh my gosh.
All right, you're getting there.
Yeah, I know. I needed. It took me 25
it's in there.
minutes.
You knew it was. You knew it was in there somewhere. You might just not want to let it out because it doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel good to say it to yourself.
It doesn't feel
let
good
alone to the fans.
It does not feel good to let them upset you anymore. This is not therapeutic anymore. This is not helping me or anyone. I don't think. Like, when I blast off like that, usually I end up like, oh, yeah. And I'm not kidding. The 3 or 4 times this year I've done this about them, I don't get any feedback about it at all. Because everybody that I'm yelling at is dead inside about it. They just go, there's Bulldog doing that performance art thing on the radio.
No, they go, he's not wrong.
Right.
And they go back to what they were thinking about before.
Right.
He's not wrong. It's not like he's wrong. 803-0550. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog here. Pregame for Sabres Sharks is at 6. This is WGR.
We know you can't.
Lindy Ruff this morning on WGR. The Sabres host the Sharks tonight. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog here, 803-0550. They are, after these last 3 losses, especially now, staring at a 14th consecutive non-playoff season, which is by far the record in the NHL. And because it's hockey, I want to also point out, none of those seasons was canceled.
Oh, right, yeah.
Maybe you could have gotten away with a couple there because seasons were canceled.
There is one in there that's only like half a year, though. Like 13, they didn't start until like January or February, I think.
That should have helped them.
Yeah, no. They didn't.
If you're an underdog, you want a shorter season.
Yeah.
You want a 1-game playoff, if you can have it.
What year was that? Was that 12-13, I think, is what I have in my head.
Sounds right.
Yeah. Anyway.
There was also, so last night I counted up, just manually, every team's number of playoff games since the Sabres last. It's on X, as Bulldog calls it. The list is topped by the Tampa Bay Lightning with 142. Mentioned the Leafs already today. I've got the number. If a team comes up, I might just shout out the number. Okay. Keeping it on my 64. Toronto's had 64 playoff games since the Sabres last. I don't know who is like the one team with their number that is just like the biggest eye roll. Maybe it's the Islanders for me at 84.
Mm-hmm.
The Islanders have had 84 playoff games, 84 days and nights where you just couldn't even sit down because you were so excited for the game and built your lives around them.
Have they ever been really good during any of that? No. You would have never gone into a playoff year. Surely somebody bet on them, but you would have never gone into a playoff year talking about the contest. Who could win the cup? Are there 5-6 teams that could win the cup? The Islanders have never been one of those, yet they've played 84 playoff games since the Sabres last were in the playoffs.
One more than tonight's opponent, the Sharks, at 83. There's also something called the round robin in the COVID year, where teams sort of played their way in. They played each other and played their way into the playoffs. The Sabres did not participate in that.
They missed out on that by a single point to the Montreal Canadiens, who they were playing in the game that was the next game it was the first game that got canceled.
Right. So the round robin, I don't think they technically count that as postseason, but I'm not sure.
Oh, so those games aren't.
Those games are not included.
Yeah.
Somebody's going, oh yeah. Not really. This is very much a straw man thing I'm about to say. Somebody's going, oh yeah, sure, but you included the round. He did not. Okay. He did not include the round robin. It's complete. Everything is just playoffs, real playoffs.
Montreal ended up with a pile of regular playoff games that year because they went all the way to the final, if I remember correctly, right?
Yes.
It's like Carey Price's last stand.
Okay, and they were in the Canadian division, maybe. Right. Wasn't there a Canadian division? But that had to help. 72 Montreal playoff games. Have they ever been good this whole time?
No.
72.
But they made the final. I mean, they could have won the cup. So, I mean, I don't know. They had a good year that year, but
ultimately,
it was pretty shocking that they made it that far, I think.
Yeah. What's shocking is the 0. I'm not mad. I'm amazed. I just cannot believe this was possible. I really can't believe this was possible for any franchise in that league. And I would have said that, I'm sure I did, 5 years ago or more. How do you go 10 years in hockey without a playoff? How do you do it? Like Luukkonen, right? So it's just Sabres life. They get Levi for Reinhart in that trade, and everybody's excited about him. He goes to another college season, and he's again the best goalie in the sport, correct? Like he backed up his status with another great season in college hockey. And then, maybe the Sabres will just sort of turn to him. Seems risky. Maybe they will do that. Maybe he's a prodigy. Maybe he's Tom Barrasso. Like maybe he's just has the show ever sounded older than that? So we'll see. And he wasn't above being a kid thrown into the NHL. He was not better than that. So they worked that. It took a while. Then they get to Luukkonen, who maybe surprised them with an outstanding season.
I think they were organizationally prepared for Levi to pass Luukkonen like he was a broken-down car on the side of the road.
So Luukkonen was kind of like, maybe he should have been traded. We talked about that a few times. I liked that idea. I thought there might have been interest in him, his being so young. And you've got somebody else now. You signed a veteran, whatever. Make it sound so easy, right? So instead, Luukkonen rises up and has a great year and gets a contract. And now what? And now he's back to
right
$890 or whatever, and goalies, right? Shucks.
Yeah.
That's and Levi's doing well, but now you kind of have Luukkonen locked in here. Maybe not, but
so you definitely have him under contract.
You have him,
but
right?
Yeah, it's not. Yeah,
I'm not sure he just has to play forever.
No, that's right. No, I think if Levi showed up in the fall and outperformed him. I don't have any trouble making that switch. I mean, I don't even have to move Luukkonen. He's not going to love it, but if the time is right, and maybe it will be by next fall. I don't know. I'm not at all put out by Levi's struggles at the NHL level and these intermittent opportunities that he's gotten. I think the track he's been on here since he got to Rochester full time, even going back to last year when he went down for the end of the year and all through this year, has been exactly what they should have done with him from the start. That doesn't mean it's going to work, but I would not take what he's looked like in the NHL as like, he can't do it.
Oh,
it's way too early for that.
Me neither. Let's go to Paul here. Hi, Paul.
Hi, guys. Interesting line of thought that I don't want to go down like the meta picture because it's so terrible. So for the rest of the season, I just hyper-focus on Dahlin because he is incredible. His stat line last night is a stat line no other defenseman in the world can create. 25 and a half minutes on the ice, +2, 3 minor penalties, a goal, a block shot, and a handful of hits, and some dirty hits, too. He physically imposed his will all over that game. He was boiling to have a fight. I am surprised one didn't break out that he was in. But that hit where he did get penalized, he hit a guy from behind into the goalposts, and you could tell he did it on purpose. And I don't know, personally, I love that stuff. I think he's the Nikita Kucherov of defensemen. He will put 3 points on you and slew-foot you in the same game. I absolutely love watching him play. He does things that the other elite Norris Trophy cabal defensemen named Hughes and Makar just would never think of doing on the ice. He is physically so much more dominant than they are. They skate really fast, and they're great offensively, but I'd take Dahlin any day.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. I mean, I'm glad you like Dahlin that much. I don't know. I'm in here screaming about the penalties in the first period. He's the captain. It's a tight one because what did he look like last night? I think the caller's right. I think he looked like he wanted to fight. He had a chance to drop his gloves and fight somebody and didn't. I mean, if he'd have dropped him, maybe the guy would have dropped him and he would have gotten the fight. So I don't know how badly he wanted it, but he definitely had an edge. But it was overcooked. I'm yelling about 5 minor penalties in the first period. 2 of them were his. And then the penalty he took late in the third period, thank God he got the goal to make up for it. Because, I mean, he could have hurt them. He hurt them in the first period, for sure, and could have killed them at the end. But, again, he made the play to bail him out. So, it cuts both ways. You kind of look the other way and forgive him. The first period, to me, was stark. The coach says we need to win this game, and we need to be disciplined. And he's blasting guys 10 feet from the puck and barreling Brendan Gallagher into his own goaltender. Okay, your bravado and your machismo can have their moment. Good for you. Was that helpful?
It's complicated. I mean, he's showing his pride.
Right.
I feel with the caller here because I think, Dahlin is probably underrated overall. And I can appreciate all of his talent and pride because that's probably part of what that was last night. I mean, what would it be like? This was Eichel 2. What would it be like to be that good? And you're paid great, it's hopefully a good life. But you are mired on a team that cannot figure out how to even make the playoffs or usually come close. And just how depressing and frustrating, to put it mildly, probably, that would be. I mean, this is legacy stuff. You want your name on the trophy. You're an all-time great if you're drafted somewhere else. Mm-hmm. So, and I can also appreciate, I was thinking about this when you were talking at the beginning, like not everybody is miserable going to the arena. Not everybody watches the Sabres in the context of, can they ever make the playoffs again? And sort of just like the way you and I tend to be, and like, sort of checked out, as you were saying that earlier, and I've taken my turns talking much the same way. Not everybody's like that, and Dahlin gives you, if you love the game, and you're not, you might be somebody that works at finding a way to enjoy it. You could just go to a game and never take your eyes off him, and if you know hockey, you're going to be impressed, and you're going to enjoy that. So that's something, but I just can't. I mean, it's about the team. And Dahlin is not the problem, but they just cannot make it work with even one of the best defensemen in the game that they lucked into because they won a lottery. I mean, they had odds, but still, like, you have to be lucky to. And Eichel and Reinhart were also second overall picks who have been great. I mean, they are great players. And I'm still sitting here just pondering life, right? Like, just what it's been so hard to understand. It's not always hard to understand in sports. The Chicago White Sox are not hard to understand. Like the Pirates are a better example. The Pirates are not hard to understand. There's not going to try. Ownership is just not going to try. And I don't know, like, is that this? Does he not try? Is he too involved? He's not too involved financially, and the arena's always another year older, and they got a new scoreboard this year and a roof.
Don't forget the roof. Right.
But the commitment to the product on the ice has been lacking, and that's not even putting it very strongly.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree that Dahlin is far from any kind of a problem for them. But last night wasn't great. The way that started, and I don't know, I just got to say it at least once, because the caller's mentioning Makar and Quinn Hughes. Like, there's not a long list of defensemen who, to me, are better and kind of significantly better than Dahlin. Those are two of them. I mean, just fine. Slew foot him, take stupid penalties is another way to compliment him for what he did last night. And, but those two cats are. Those guys are playing on special teams when they're playing international tournaments. Dahlin never got off the bench on a penalty kill or a power play during that Four Nations thing. So, that's what Sweden thinks of him. Just saying, like, he's great, but those two dudes, you could take them over those two guys. You're taking the third best guy out of those three guys easily.
803-0550, Mike Schopp and the Bulldog, WGR.
More of Schopp and the Bulldog coming up live from
Welcome back. It's going to hang out here this afternoon. We'll have the Sabres and Sharks tonight. Pregame at 6. Let's talk to Mark next. Hi, Mark.
Hi, guys. How are you?
Good. Thanks for calling, Mark.
I guess I don't have to ask that question. I think that I think the Sabres do have a lot of young talent on the team, and they have good talent on the team. And what I'd like to see them do, instead of swinging for a home run, is swing for a double. And what that might mean is, and I'm not 100% sure if this is true, but I had heard that Lindy Ruff came in and he was not able to bring any of his own staff in. And if that's true, let him bring his own staff in, and then maybe getting rid of Adams and whoever that they bring in, who knows who that will be, that they've hit a couple home runs and they've turned them into bunts. And look at the Eichel situation, and and Reinhardt and these guys they get in here, and they should turn them into an unbeatable team, and they don't surround them with any senior leadership, and then they just go. They just go somewhere else and win Stanley Cups.
It started with O'Reilly, right? Like, O'Reilly was supposed to represent some form of that, and he was also a good player. He got into a thing before his Sabres career even started, as it happens, and then when it ended, it was because he just kind of lost his love and feeling. And part of a good organization is to avoid that, or to prevent that, to whatever extent it is possible. And it does not seem like the Sabres excel in this sort of player relations kind of thing. If that's not unfair, I mean, that's one example from what now was a long time ago. But so much time and energy seems to be spent on, at least in terms of how Adams talks. And I feel like it's just, what's the likeliest thing here? Just the reputation within players that want to be here. It's not Toronto or Vegas, but man, is there an obsession with wanting to be here? Make it better somehow. Maybe invest more effort into these guys' lives. I don't know. Like, this is one where I'm probably just spitballing because I'm starting on O'Reilly, and that's like a decade. But it doesn't seem like maybe the problem is just all good at this point.
Yeah, no. And look, guys age, guys mature, but both of those guys, not O'Reilly. O'Reilly played. He won the MVP, right? When they
Conn Smythe Trophy.
Conn Smythe, the playoff MVP. And look, Eichel and Reinhardt really mattered to their teams when they won the Cup, but they were not the kingpins of those teams. They went in more under, Barkov and Ekblad and Bobrovsky, like the Panthers. That's their leadership core. Reinhardt's wearing a letter now there, like he's respected, but he didn't have to be the guy. Eichel goes to Vegas, Mark Stone, like, forget it. Like, their leadership is set. You're just got to go there and fit in. And he's done great. He's become a fantastic 200-foot hockey player. He was a stud, even though the U.S. lost in that championship game in the Four Nations thing. But them being, once O'Reilly left, sort of handed the keys, maybe wasn't a great idea. At that time in their lives, anyway. And even now, again, they're not the guys on their team. They're important, obviously. They matter. They're star players in the league, but they're not the kingpins of their teams.
Fair enough. At or near the bottom of your list of like what it is about all this topic that just makes you crazy, before, right? Like, big picture, game to game, whatever it is, like having to still litigate Jack Eichel and Ryan O'Reilly and Chris Drury and Daniel Briere and Dominic Hasek and Michael Pekka. Like, it's just the history of the franchise is this being at odds with your best guys. Is that the case right now? I'd love to know. Man, I almost tweeted this last night. What a great night it would have been for some truth serum with Darlene. What is this really like, buddy? What is this really like? Wouldn't you love to just have him tell you? How does it not just completely deflate his passion? Maybe is not the word. I don't know. How would it not be completely deflating for the good players, if not all the players on this team, to just have it seem like, is that too easy on them? Like, is that, if coach says play smart and they come out and play like just, like they're crazy or something, if you're going against the message, I don't want to give them every pass. Even they're good players, like you already did a few minutes on with Dahlin and last night. But man, what would it feel like to play for them?
Yep. I mean, they were in a position last night where, like, the game before Saturday night was chippy. The Sabres have this reputation from the New Jersey game. Like, I wonder, I'd love to know if how much of what was going on Saturday and even what was going on last night is the Canadians just sort of chirping at the Sabres because of the New Jersey thing and just all of it, the reputation of the team. Like, I'd love to know. Like, it's not even a working theory at this point, but man, like, they'd be an easy team to, I think, get under their skin, and that might explain them being the way they were, especially Dahlin in that first period. He's trying to lead. I think it was misguided, but you can understand. Like, they might feel stuck too. Like, these guys are, they're treating us as, I'm almost going to swear here, but they're taking liberties with us, and I need to stand up. So, yeah, I'm going to cheap shot this guy, I'm going to cheap shot that guy, and I'm going to serve my time, but, we're trying to draw a line in the sand. I mean, you can't win for trying sometimes.
It would help if their special teams were at all good.
Sure.
So that when they take penalties, they don't just get scored on immediately, and when they get power plays, they can actually look like they know what to do.
And not get scored on themselves.
And not get scored on immediately.
That would help, too.
That would help, too. I mean, who's going to be the first to make the 5-on-5 expected goals point today? Oh, right, because every day someone makes that point. And it's never me. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog at 803-0550. This is WGR.
550.com. This is a Paddock Chevrolet Sports Update.
Very busy day today in the NFL as teams are beginning to set the table for the start of the new league year next Wednesday. Philadelphia, they are giving running back Saquon Barkley a 2-year, $41.2 million extension. He is now the highest paid running back in NFL history and the first running back to go above $20 million per year. The deal also includes $36 million guaranteed. And the Eagles, they also continue their secondary cuts. Cornerback James Bradbury today. Yesterday, it was Darius Slay. To the Cowboys, they have signed defensive tackle Osa Odigizua to a 4-year, $80 million deal. $58 million of that is guaranteed, and they also have restructured wide receiver CeeDee Lamb's deal to create $20 million in cap space. And the Jets also doing that with wide receivers, though they have released wide receiver Devontae Adams, saving $29.9 million in cap, and have given fellow wide receiver Allen Lazard permission to seek a trade. And the franchise tag deadline has passed. Just 2 teams have used the tag, the Bengals with wide receiver T. Higgins and the Chiefs with guard Trey Smith. And this does, of course, mean the Vikings did not do so with quarterback Sam Darnold, which was expected, though reportedly the two sides are still working on a short-term deal to keep him with Minnesota. To the Sabres, it is Bills night at the arena. The Sabres do take on the San Jose Sharks. Puck drop at 7. Pregame getting underway at 6. The Sabres are looking to avoid dropping a 4th straight game. And then in college hoops, UB men host Miami of Ohio at 7 in what will be the final home game of the year for the men. That game will be over on our sister station, the Bet 15-20. That's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Update. Paddock Chevrolet celebrating 90 years of business. I'm Zach Jones for WGR Sports Radio 550.
It's Mike Schopp and the Bulldog.
Are you talking to yourself, or is this from some movie
Godfather.
I've never seen? Oh, okay. Sorry.
Have you seen The Godfather, I hope?
Once or twice.
It's Mike Schopp
I did not see it until my 30s, but then I became obsessed with it.
and the Bulldog.
I've never been obsessed with it, so I don't know it well enough to have picked up on that.
I did not care for The Godfather.
What?
Did not care for The Godfather.
I don't think it's a movie where it's like, oh, it's good. Godfather, yeah, I saw that. It was good. It was good. The Godfather, I saw that. I liked it. Like that's just sort of, you didn't really see it.
I'm not in the way of it being an all-time great. I never got obsessed with it.
Explain yourself. What didn't you like about it?
It insists upon itself.
It's Mike Schopp and the Bulldog
It's not personal. It's strictly business.
on WGR Sports Radio 550.
There it is, right there in a sound. How about some NFL schedule speculation? Can I talk anybody into that? What would you like to see played?
I'm even in a cranky mood about football right now because of the Eagles. What are you doing to me, Eagles? I got a running back that wants a new contract. I don't need you giving Saquon Barkley. You just gave him a big contract last year. Why do you got to muck this up for me? Philadelphia?
I
Big
love
Dom is probably behind it. Big Dom. Let's give Saquon some more money. Jerk.
I love it. By the way, so Friday I'll be in Philadelphia, and I just happened to notice there was a card show. I think this has happened before. Like, this is the weekend I go, and this is maybe the weekend of this Philly card show. And I just looked at the names. Hurts, Sirianni, like all half the Eagles roster seems to be like booked for this card show. And Big Dom. What?
It stopped. You said, say Sirianni again.
Sirianni. Oh.
It didn't work.
Okay.
My iPad does this. When you say Siri, it gets this sort of like rainbow. There it is. Rainbow glow around here. I'll show the
You said it
people.
this time.
I said it. And when you said Sirianni that time, my iPad went like, what do you want?
Can I have something?
Let me shut that
What
down.
do I want? Anyway, Big Dom is on the list.
Of course he is.
He signs.
As he should. I mean, he's a star. He's in every camera shot. He's everywhere. Big Dom.
I love the Eagles thing. May I just quickly make sure I keep this quick? Compare it to something I did in a fantasy league. So Howie Roseman, he's supposed to be the best.
Mm-hmm.
And like the smart cap people are like, this is nothing. It's always about 2029 for Philadelphia.
Right.
Void years at the end.
Yep.
They're trolling the Giants. Maybe. Like, it doesn't matter. They're rewarding him. It's not a problem in any way that they did it. What it also is what you're saying, I think, what you're implying, is how it resets the market.
Yeah, I did not need that right now.
I'm in a league where I hope this makes sense. by position, the highest waiver bid of the previous season on a position becomes the franchise tag amount for the next year.
Okay.
We have contracts and franchise tags. So if you have 1,000 fake dollars, if you bid $500 fake dollars on a waiver running back, there's an injury, Jordan Mason or somebody last year because McCaffrey doesn't play. You bid like half or more of your budget on a guy. The high number from the season, the high bid, is next year's cap number for running backs, right? Mm-hmm. And one year, I had all this money. I had a dream season. Nobody got hurt. Didn't really need to use waivers. I was good. And I had all this money left, and I just spent it all the last week on just a guy.
You loaded up at the trade deadline
to
basically
make the cap number because I knew I wouldn't have a problem.
Right.
So I just made it everybody else's problem. If you wanted to franchise a running back the next year, it was going to cost you like $800.
Mm-hmm.
It was going to cost you almost all of your money. That's what the Eagles did.
That's what the Eagles did today. Yes. So, yeah, I'm not well, why would I? I'm not worried about their cap. I'm not worried about how they're going to make it all work. I'm not worried about the cash flow of their ownership, which apparently is endless. So good for them. I just know I left home. It's one of these things where, we're probably very similar in this way throughout the day. Like we're
go for a long bike ride,
looking for sure. Watch some terrible TV while you're riding a stationary bike in your basement, and then I'm scrolling. They go, Devontae Adams, Alan Lazard, that's funny. They can trade, sure. And then I leave for work. And I get here, and the first thing I see is James Cook with the eyeball emojis on the Saquon Barkley. So I'm like, no, come on.
It took him no time.
No, he's right there.
Right there.
That was where I saw the news. I didn't even see I log in here at work, and up pops James Cook. Like, ooh.
You saw it through Cook.
Googly eyes.
You saw it through Cook's eyes.
Yes.
There it is.
Which, if I were him, I'd also be making googly eyes at that. That would be great. For him, I don't know, it's great for me or the Bills, really.
It's going to be fine. The Eagles are the kings. The Bills are up there. The Bills have consistently managed to avoid any sort of contract distractions, at least that we know about. And they've had a very smooth trip these last few years, which is to their credit. And I don't think this will be any different. I guess who knows? Who knows how serious Cook is about all this, or the Bills? And just it's almost not even worth saying. But say the guy doesn't really want to play ball anymore. Oh, $20 million. I upped it. There, eyeballs. Just whatever. That's not the case. But we don't know. I just think there will be a 3 or so year deal for Cook, maybe 4. Would that be so bad? And it doesn't top Barkley, but it might get to half or a little better. I mean, it did go up today.
That's what I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. If we were prepared to, and if he was prepared to, 15, I just really would like 10.5 or 11, whatever he's prepared to live with, if that's what he's really doing here. That changed to me. If I'm him, I'm now thinking, if I was already of that mind to try to get my piece of the pie now, this is my chance. It's going to be my one chance here. It's my second contract. I'm a running back. I know my brother's been, I know the lay of the land. And I'm not disrespecting him trying to get what he can get while he can get it. It's just not. It's not healthy for a football team. I'm trying to fill holes. I need pass rush, and I need whatever I need. And I don't know if it was going to cost 10 and now it's going to cost 12. That's not ideal for me. That's all I'm saying. I mean, it's a pretty obvious point that needs to be clarified.
But it's not a big difference.
No, but it's already. We all love him, well, to varying degrees. You're fine.
I like him.
Fans like him. Fans love him. He's awesome. He's been making $5 million. So get ready for, as soon as he fumbles one time making $12 million, that he's the Antichrist, because that's how it works. So the joyride sort of stops to an extent. Because your mistakes, now you got to live up to that, and boy, you better.
He had one fumble lost or just one fumble, period.
They did a great job hanging on to the ball this year.
And they recovered all their fumbles. You had 4 the year before. And what's going to happen, I don't know what the numbers will be, but it'll be a big raise. And you're talking about public perception. That could change. It makes sense. He ran for 1,009 yards on a team that scored all the points. 16 touchdowns. What next year will be about the same, only 7 touchdowns.
Yeah.
The touchdown regression will come. The year before he scored 2.
Right. I wonder can you find quickly, this is something I could have asked you in a break, but I didn't know it was actually going to come up. Like, what percentage of snaps did Barkley play for the Eagles last year? Because, if I'm the Bills and I want to try to, look, I want this player, I value this player, and I'm saying that as me, Chris Parker, radio guy, and as the Bills right now. I like you, I value you, I see your importance. I'm not loaded with offensive, explosive players, so you're important, you matter, but I'm also going to try to make this as good as I can for me, and something I think I would want to be armed with is, you played 51% of the snaps, and Barkley plays 74% of the snaps. That's a pretty big difference.
Well, then why don't you just play me more?
Is James Cook physically prepared?
I don't know why they don't do it.
Yeah.
I would say if I were James Cook, that would be my retort. It's up to you how many snaps I play, not me.
Well, they're asking for.
I'm not begging off the field.
I think they're asking for trouble if they start doing that because he is not Saquon Barkley. Like physically, he's just not. So they've used him. I think maybe exactly optimally used him these past 2 years. I wouldn't want to change that. And does the contract come with that too? Do I not need Ty Johnson anymore because James Cook is making $10+ million a year? I don't know. I liked everyone having a role, and so I don't know. But the snap count thing would be a thing for me as you're trying, because that doesn't make it a direct comparison.
I like that Scott Barrett, a friend of mine, who's been on the show a few times, brought up Derrick Henry today about Barkley. He basically said, did we all just forget that Henry was kind of more efficient and almost as productive, prolific? Couldn't decide for a half second there which I wanted. I'm just trying not to say Siri again. 1,921 yards.
You're okay.
For Henry.
Yeah.
Who, by the way, played 57% of the snaps for Baltimore.
Mm-hmm.
Passing downs, he comes off, when they're trailing, which wasn't often. He comes off, but yeah. Yeah, okay, well, opinions are welcome. I don't feel like the Bills are really headed for a problem there. Worst case scenario is what? Worst case scenario is he doesn't show. The Bills won't flinch on the dollars. They make to their eyes the best offer, and Cook says no, and he doesn't come in. Guess what? The team will be exactly as good. Whether it's Ty Johnson, Ray Davis, there'll be somebody else. There'll probably be there could be a draft pick. The team will be exactly as good. Boy, I'm saying it twice, and I want to say almost exactly as good.
Yeah, because
pretty much as good.
Yeah, I mean I think that's a lot to assume until I see what they do with the rest of the passing game. He made big. He was not just like a serviceable. I mean, he made plays this year. He ran away from people. He did things that I didn't see coming. I didn't think he had that in his tool set. I don't know. I guess a part of this is, to me, buying high, which is what you're doing. It's risky. He wants what he wants. He knows the time is right, and so he's pushing it. And again, I don't begrudge him that at all. If the Bills wanted to put it off, I would respect it, because you are absolutely signing him off of. If he had the reverse happen, he had 16 touchdowns season before, and this year had 2. Is he tweeting $15 million?
No.
Of course not. And the Bills are probably like, hey, when are you going to come talk to us about a contract? Because we'd love to do something with you off of your 2 touchdown year. So I'm just not assuming he's going to be even a 10 touchdown a year guy.
No.
And that's the problem with buying him right now if you're the Bills. And they do not have to. So I don't know how this will go. You've said it. I've said it. They've had a very smooth ride here for the entirety of Allen's career here, as far as we know it. There's been very little turbulence in this way. Jordan Poyer is really it. We were worried Milano was going to leave, but that didn't get past free agency.
What even was Poyer? Like a week of drama?
Yeah, like he's going to go out and see what's out there, and he did. And he didn't come into camp that one year.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Right, it was but it wasn't. I think you always just thought he'll be here eventually, which he was. Right. So anyway, they've had none of that, and they could choose.